Reese's Senior Bowl practice day number 3 is in the books. We're going to recap that, some of the top performers, not just for the day, but for the whole period across the 3 practices. And we hope there are no audio issues this time around. Myself and Dylan Tereman. Dylan, hopefully you're sounding okay. I think we may have had some issues with Chris's mic yesterday. If it's us, we apologize. Feel free to jump into the chat. How we doing, Wild Wave, and let us know if our mics aren't working. And well, there's nothing we'd be able to do about it. So apologies in advance. What are your thoughts, Dylan? Which date? I think there will be less today, Dylan, because there was the practices to me seemed like it was a lot more special teams and team drills where you don't really get a good feel for there's not much you can comment on guys throwing throwing against air and linemen blocking other linemen. So it seemed like there was a little bit less on field stuff to comment on, but there was still some stuff there to that's worth mentioning. So shorter show today, but we'll still cover everything that stood out with some thoughts on the week as a whole.
Yeah, it definitely felt like today's practice was not only a little bit shorter, but a little bit more relaxed. They knew it was their last day of practice. They weren't trying to do anything too serious, get any of their guys hurt. We obviously saw a lot of guys who did get banged up during the week. They didn't participate at all today. So, yeah, definitely a bit of a lighter practice as they're getting ready for the game on Saturday. Um, and you see at the end of practice today, O line versus D line in one-on-one pass drills. Like they're going out for routes, so they were definitely a little bit nicer and just a little bit more relaxed. While Wave, what's up? We see good audio, by the way. Yeah, we had to
Thank
kick
you.
Chris
Yeah.
out last night. Was a little loud on Chris's end. We understand that. We're trying to figure it out. We don't have our normal setup here with us in Mobile, but we're trying to just give you guys as much content as we possibly can over the last 3 days. So, yeah, I mean, light practice, but still tons of people that stood out. Um, we could just jump right in it. I mean, I think it was
Yeah.
pretty obvious if you were watching down on the sidelines, you saw the GOAT, Jerry Rice, walking around, watching his son Brendan warm up, take to individual drills, and that's the first guy. I named him twice before, and we're going to get into the whole week winners. Brendan Rice again, 3 wins in one-on-one drill, just smooth. I liked him a lot. I think he's probably one of my biggest winners from the wide receiver position. I watched wideout DBs for 2 days out of the three, so I think I have like a pretty good grasp on most of these guys by now. But him, Corley, McCaffrey, I think those were the three biggest winners from the national team practice. Um, I have another one here. Jacob Cowing had a better day today. He had 2 wins in one-on-one drills, and then another end zone catch from Bo Nix. And I guess hand in hand with the wide receivers, we should talk about the quarterbacks because they have been underwhelming the past 2 days, and today they finally let it rip a little bit more. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, they were making better throws in the red zone, 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 periods. So it was nice to see those guys kind of separate themselves because my hope coming into the week was that one of these guys was going to be a top 10 pick and you're going to just push the talent pool down to the Jets at 10. Not so much the case with Nix and Penix, but again, it only takes one. But today finally was a little bit of a nicer upswing of the pendulum for them to end the practice on. So definitely think the quarterbacks did a little bit of a better job today to help the wide receivers that we like so much.
Yeah, I thought that Bo Nix had a nice stretch. He had is definitely his best stretch of the week in red zone, throwing three passes for 3 touchdowns consecutively.
Mm-hmm.
He hit Corley, he hit Rice, and he hit McCaffrey. No, sorry, Penix I think hit McCaffrey in the back of the end zone. And who was the third one to Nix? Nix had
Nix
three
was
in a row.
Corley in the end zone, Rice in the end zone, and then Walker in the end zone.
That was right. That which he had a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a bounce back day. He had I saw him with a drop early against Air, and you kind of thought, here we go again. But I think he was better after that. So up and down, mostly down week for him. But it's like I said yesterday. In a weird way, sometimes these guys will have a rough week, and then they play the game against full speed against other guys, and they look the way they did in live action all year. And then, scouts have to balance that. Like the Senior Bowl is important, of course, but you're not going to take a whole year or an entire college career worth of film and throw it away because of the way a guy looked over 3 days. So I don't think we're going to see anything drastic with these guys. Gabe Hall, to me, again, another monster day for him.
D
He's one
tackle
of my
from
winners.
Baylor. Yep.
Yeah, the Baylor D tackle. I should have said that. Um, uh, a guy to me who was sort of top five for the week, really from the first practice to where he was. I think he is in my notes. He's the first person I took notes on that jumped out that I jotted it down. Um, Chris's mic was a little loud.
It's
Now
his
we're
first
more
day
aware.
using his new setup. We gotta
We'll
cut
have
him
him
some
turn.
slack.
Yeah, he told us. He told us. He said, "Give me time to get home. I got my new setup ready to roll." So I think he was just tuned up a little too much. Isaiah Adams, offensive lineman, from
Hmm.
Illinois, who I mentioned previously, guy again who's played guard, who's played tackle. He's been playing guard most. When I spoke to him yesterday, he said he thought a switch to guard was probably the best move for him, and that's where they've taken a look at him. He looked good again today. Taylor Borderlini, up and down day for him. Really bad first day, much better the second day, and then today he kind of felt like he alternated between good and bad.
Hmm.
We got the test drop. I mentioned that. AJ Barner, really, again, I love the guy as a blocker. I said that before coming down here. Had a huge block to spring a big run up the middle today. And it was funny. I noticed it and I could hear two people behind me. I don't know if they were because they had just been talking about Ladarius Henderson. Um, and I could hear them on the foot making some calls about him because Henderson left the field. I don't know if it was an agent, a friend, whatever. But as soon as he hit that block, I could hear two people behind me. Great block, AJ, and it was. It really popped and jumped out. And like I said, you watch enough Michigan, their tight ends, they do a great job of blocking. Barner is one of them who looks really good in that role. As far as a receiver this week, he didn't do as much as I had hoped. Um, let's see, Jordan Morgan. He won a lot of his reps. He did a really nice
Tackle
job.
from Arizona.
Yep, Arizona. I just assume everyone is
I know. I feel like
you
even
know
if people have
as
listened all
spun up
three
on these
days, they
guys.
still
Yeah,
might not. So
Y- and I still should say it for sure. Um, those are the top guys. Those are the main guys for me. Dominic Pooney, jotted him down. He had a couple of really good reps in the one-on-ones. He's a tackle from Kansas, and let's face it, Jets fans should be familiar with as many tackles as possible.
yeah, no, definitely. And another tackle that I didn't watch him specifically today. Oh, hold on. Jeremy's starting a fire.
No audio issues, but we got to start a fire. Oh, so I'm assuming Dylan's got us muted because the I thought, oh, that alarm stopped quickly, but no, Dylan just muted the alarm. So we got a fire during the podcast. Awesome. You got to get that cup of
That
coffee
is
like
Jets
like the
chaos
meme.
contribution to
Everything's
today's
fine.
show.
Everything's great.
I don't have
What are
to
you gonna do?
evacuate the
What are
building,
you?
thankully.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
burned his pizza in the oven a little bit. It's all good. um, I don't know. I don't even know what I was saying. So we're just going to keep continuing going with players that I like. Marshawn Lloyd, running back from USC. Dude is exceptional when he makes cuts in the hole. I mean, I understand that takes
Yes.
good blocking, and there was some good blocking on these plays, but when there was bad blocking today, which there was plenty of, um, Marshawn Lloyd made the best of it. So I definitely think he separated himself from the other running backs in the group. And then Kamani Vidal from Troy, the running back as well. Another guy who is versatile out of the backfield, making passes, catches in the 7-on-7 period, just quick through the hole. So those two guys were fun to watch from the running back position. Obviously, we have Dylan Laub. Despite him looking like he's 5 years older than me, he's 5 years younger than me, and he played pretty well. So glad to see that he was there. I had Barner down as well as a one-on-one win. So I'm glad that you mentioned him. But then Brevin Spanford, the Minnesota tight end, he had 2 wins in one-on-ones today. So that really excited me because I wasn't too keen on any of these tight ends except for Spanford because last year we thought he was going to come out and he didn't. So I was happy to see him make some good plays. But then Theo Johnson, I think, stuck out to me throughout the entire week, the tight end from Penn State. So good to have new tight ends pop up on our radar. And I understand there's Jets fans out there that say we can't have any more tight ends because we have Jeremy Ruckert, but I definitely think the Jets, if they don't want a Brock Bowers, could totally go bargain shopping in these like middle round tight end groups. Spanford, Theo Johnson, AJ Barner, all these guys could fit the mold. So they're starting to finally sneak up on my radar as far as the tight end position. Um,
And I don't think CJ Uzama's a lock to be back next year either.
no, 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 no. He shouldn't be. I don't think. I feel like I know
No.
they kicked the can down the curb with the restructure of his contract last year, but I don't necessarily think that should keep him on the roster this year. I think if they,
Yeah.
like I said, if they sign a guy or if they draft a guy, easily just takes Uzama out of the picture, and you can have a Conklin, Rucker, insert new name here, trio at wide or at tight end, excuse me, and you can make it work. So, real quick, another guy, defensive side though, Max Melton, Rutgers corner, two really good wins in one-on-one red zone period. So I was really excited to see him. Um, and Kalen King, the Penn State corner. Obviously, Johnny Dixon got a lot of the buzz as the corner from Penn State, but Johnny Dixon did not have a good week, and Kalen King did pretty well for himself outside of a handful of reps on the first day. So Kalen King, corner from Penn State, also stuck out to me.
Yeah, he had himself a really nice day, and I'm glad you mentioned Lynch because he was a guy. He had one run. It was one of those where, well, not Lynch. Sorry, the the USC running back.
Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd.
Sorry.
Uh, some some
So
video
Marshawn
quality
Lynch, and
today.
as he was
Yeah.
during one of his runs, I said to myself, Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, it's got to be something, right? But Marshawn Lloyd, he had a cutback run in the red zone where he
hmm
he seemed to juke the entire defense. And I mean, as you said, the blocking wasn't there. The run was to his right, and he cut back hard to his left. Plenty of oohs and ahs because he faked out everyone on defense. It was on that side of the ball. He ended up getting caught by the guys who were already to the far left, but it just showed you how he can cut on a dime and make guys miss, and just really an elusive guy. I thought he's been good all week, but I thought today he showed some of his best stuff. Um, in showing off change of direction and acceleration. Um,
Yeah, it was fun to
Christian
see all the
Haynes
safeties and
worked at guard.
linebackers go like this and then just immediately fall trying to cut
Yes,
back with Marshawn.
exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, my Wi-Fi, Gus, 3 for 3, right? Um, Christian Jones. I'm sorry. Christian Haynes, really nice
Haynes,
job.
yeah.
Played
But
guard and center, the UConn product. He was a guy I said earlier in the week. He was one of the players that had the most to prove or the most to gain down here because highly touted guy, played well against lower level competition. Senior Bowl is an opportunity for him to come down here and show what he can do against a higher level. And he played really well all week, really, and did a really nice job today. Um, Jeremy Flax got into it. I believe it was Jordan Jefferson that he got into it with, and actually
mhm.
threw a punch, which is never a good idea when guys are wearing helmets. But you
It
you
was
could you
Jordan
could see.
Jefferson.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Oh, that's
Jefferson.
two
You
scuffles for him.
you could see it bubbling, and you'd see them kind of getting in each other's faces. And I apologize if it wasn't Jefferson. I'm 99% sure it was. I have Jefferson's name down several times, but Christian Jones was another one. He probably stood out more than anybody to me today on the offensive line. He just
Yeah,
he won every rep that I saw, and he won pretty convincingly. So Christian Jones from Texas, offensive lineman, did a really nice job. I've got him down several times. Bo Limmer, up and down. Again, Arkansas center, who I liked quite a bit coming into this as a sort of a mid-late rounder. I think he's probably still in that position. As I say, he got folded in half yesterday by Tavondre Sweat. Had some good reps today, but again, was up and down. Um, let's see. Javon Foster, a couple of wins for him. All in all, a good week for him. The Mizzou product, who I think he's got an opportunity when you look at the importance of the tackle position, guys. Maybe you get drafted a little higher than they would have otherwise, and it's not just about talent, but where can you step in and play? And I think he can step in and be a left tackle somewhere, over time. And let's see,
I thought the
Carter
question you asked
Bradley
him at the
again.
podium was really good. Sorry. I was gonna say that
What's
the
that?
question that you asked Javon Foster at the podium yesterday was really good, and I'm glad that he gave you the answer that he did, saying that he appreciated it because he wasn't getting the national hype that
Oh no,
everybody else
that was
does.
Darius Robinson. That was Darius Robinson.
Oh, it was the opposite. Okay, wrong trench for
Yeah,
Missouri.
yeah. I interviewed both of them, yeah, but Robinson was the one that I got at the podium. But yeah, he had another big day today. He's
Mhm.
gonna be a first round pick, and
I'm
he is
surprised
a
that
guy
he
that committed
played
to it.
all 3 games or all 3
Yeah,
practices based
all three
on
days.
the hype.
Yeah,
I mean, when Jim Nagy puts out a tweet about you after the first practice, and then you see him during
yep,
the first practice taking an interview in a jersey with no pads, you were just like, "Oh, well, shoot, he did well enough where his stock is up and he doesn't have to participate." But I'm glad that he did and continued to build on a strong day 1 to have just a very strong week.
yep. And Carter Bradley, again, I just want to mention him again because he made some nice throws again
Mhm.
today. I'm not
Yep.
saying he's a high early round pick. I'm just saying for a guy who went to the University of South Alabama and didn't get a lot of love coming into this, he was sort of probably the quarterback the only one I hadn't watched up to this point and didn't know what to expect. And all week we saw some accuracy, we saw some quick decision making. Um, a lot of it, and we talked about this, Dylan. A lot of this week was really short stuff. I mean, it was rare that quarterbacks took any shots down the field, but
Mhm.
for a guy I didn't know what to expect of or had very expected very little because of the small school and the inexperience against better competition. I thought he really impressed me. And Spencer Rattler, I thought, had one of his better days today. Um, again,
Yeah.
didn't look great, but I saw him make more good throws today than I did on day one and day two. So I think today was Rattler's best day. Gus is asking, will we make a move to get back into the second? I've been saying that for a while now. I think
Yeah.
you either package Bryce Huff in a pick to get a two, or you trade down from 10. I'm sort of I'm off the Brock Bowers train for a couple of reasons. Um,
Where
not
is
because I
Chris?
don't want him at 10. I don't think he's going to be there. He's too good. I think Mel Kiper recently mocked him to the Chargers at 5. He's
Mhm.
too good of a player. People who say they don't want him just don't know what you're looking at. I see people say don't take Bowers but take a wide receiver. Like, don't take a guy who can be an elite pass catcher and do more. Take an elite pass catcher who only does that. I don't
Right.
understand that mentality.
If you're
People
gonna
like
take
the
a pass
flashy stuff.
catcher,
I
he
get it.
should definitely be
But
considered
Bowers
in
is,
that group.
yeah, and he's going to be gone by 10. Even if he's there, you've got an offensive coordinator who's not going to know what to do with him. Um, it's kind of a waste. And you're the Jets. You need more picks. The move is to trade down, and of course, it takes two to tango. You got to have a second guy. You got to have a second team. But Joe Douglas really needs to do everything he can to add picks. I would absolutely add a two. And there's guys who weren't at the senior, like Graham Barton. If you can get Graham Barton at the back end of round one or the top
Yeah.
of round two, I would absolutely take him. We've talked all week about Powers Johnson. We've talked a little bit about Cedric Van Pran. He's not here, but he's another one. Like, there are
Yep.
other
Cooper
linemen I would
Beebe. Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, Cooper Beebe. Beebe's the guy I sort of have been mentioning for months, and now these other guys now that I've watched more of them, I do like Beebe a lot. But there are other guys I'd be absolutely fine with at the back of round one, early round two. So I think they should be doing everything they can to make a move to add another pick. I mean, multiple picks really, but at least one. Get a second rounder and grab yourself another offensive lineman.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would argue the Jets' draft strategy. Obviously, they could argue the name that is selected with these picks, of course, but if they did somehow get even like a back end of second round pick and they somehow came away with 2 offensive linemen and a wide receiver on day 1 and 2, that'd be great. Maybe you move back from 10, stay in the top 15, pick up a tackle or a guard with tackle flexibility, and then you come back in the second round and get another tackle or guard with tackle flexibility, or even a center with guard flexibility. Like we just named plenty of guys: Cooper Beebe, Van Pran, Powers Johnson, like those guys in that range. And then in the third round, you come back and you go get a wide receiver. That would just be probably the most optimal way to do the draft if you're
Yeah.
looking at it from a Jets perspective. But it's there's so many options now, but yeah, I think those have to be the 2 positions you key in on with your top 100 picks is offensive line, just in general, not necessarily tackle, just offensive line and then wide receiver.
Alon Avital says team could trade up to Cincinnati. to replace Williams. I think the one problem with that is that tackle is so deep that if you're at 18 and you're the Bengals, you can sit tight and someone is going to fall to you.
Amarius
Whether
Mims
it's
from Georgia
yeah,
could fall
whether it's
to
Mims,
that spot or
whether it's
whatever.
Patrick Paul. There's, I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh
what
yeah, I
Daniel
liked Paul a
Jeremiah put
lot.
out. Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 the other day, I believe, had 7 offensive tackles. So, I mean, if you're the Bengals and you just believe you need one of those guys to fall to you, likely you're gonna move up.
Sorry, they're taking the pizza out of the oven and they don't want it to start again. Gosh. Yeah, I don't know. The Jets could move from 10 and still get an offensive lineman. I'm nervous though. Like you move 3 spots and literally 3 offensive linemen could go 11, 12, 13, and now you're screwed. So it's going to be a situation where Joe Douglas has to get cute, but let's not get too cute because we saw what happened when you moved down 2 spots last year. Obviously, a completely different situation with the tackle class, but you move down 2 spots and you lose the guy. So anything can happen. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind if they reached on a guy. They felt like, oh, offensive tackle 4 is the guy at 10. That's fine. Whoever they feel is offensive tackle 4, it's probably worth it rather than moving back 5 spots and now you have offensive tackle 6 or however it falls. So Joe Douglas has to get cute,
I
but he
say it
can't
all the
get
time.
too
I don't
cute.
care where a guy ranks within a position group. If you believe you can
Hmm.
find a starter, take him. You don't say, "Well, we're not taking that guy. He's the fifth best tackle." Well, it's a very deep tackle class, and some years that guy would be tackle two. Just so happens it's a deep class this year,
Right.
and he's tackle 4 or 5. So don't. I mean, the first time I heard someone offer that explanation on why they shouldn't take a guy, you can't take him. He's the third best, whatever. I'm just like, is he good enough to be a starting player at that position? Yeah, but he's
Right.
the third best. I don't care. I don't
But
care. It's deep.
third best according to who? Third best according
Yeah,
to a Daniel Jeremiah or um, a Mel Kiper doesn't necessarily mean that it's number 3 to Joe Douglas and his coaching or his front office staff. So every board is going to look different, and your board is going to look different than my board. So it's like no two boards are really alike, and honestly, if two boards are alike, somebody's not doing their homework, you know. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But I don't know. How do you? I know you are a fan of trading back up into the first round, but are you also a fan of moving back at 10, or do you think just stick and pick?
yeah, that's what I said. I think Bowers is a pipe dream. He won't be there. I think the top priority should be to trade down. Obviously, you don't want to drop down too far, but I'd like the range it was mentioned, 18. Like I've kind of said for a while, like between 15 and 18 feels to me like is a spot where you can still get a tackle and add picks. I wouldn't want to drop to like the 20s. You start doing that, I mean, unless you're getting a haul of picks, I wouldn't do
Hmm.
that. And but the thing is, how many teams? It's like teams are going to want to move up for a quarterback. And, people say, oh, what if
Yeah.
somebody's falling? If a quarterback is falling, teams are going to trade up to 6 or 7. Like, they're not going to risk getting leapfrogged by waiting till 10. 10 is almost too long to wait. I mean,
Right.
listen, it's not impossible. It's not, perfect example with the Jets, Jermaine Johnson, right? As he was falling, the Jets are making calls and everyone wants a little too much and Joe Douglas keeps calling and he keeps falling and finally they get a team that's willing to make a deal and the Jets get their guy for a price they wanted. Probably worked out because they probably were willing to pay a little more than what they ended up paying when he was, several slots higher or when they were trying to get several slots higher. In the end they got their guy, but so I'm not saying it's impossible that a quarterback or a player somebody wants fall to 10, but I think it's more likely that if you love a QB and he falls past 5 and 6, like then you're trying to get up to 7, 8, 9, and
Yeah.
we'll see. But I'm not averse at all to moving down. Like I think that's the move because I think
Yeah.
Bowers will be gone, and I think that they need to add picks. I like Fuaga a lot. And I know DJ has. I think DJ had him going to the Jets at 10. A few people have had him going to the Jets at 10. But unless Joe Douglas, the only way I could see them not trading down is if they're happy to deal Bryce and a pick to add a second and sit with that and know they
And then
got
they
their
have
2 back
10, a
because that's
second, and then
that's the
their
thing with the
third.
Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers deal. It's they basically yeah. And I wrote an article earlier. People lately like between Twitter and Jet Nation like a lot of people miss like basic points. Like the Aaron Rodgers deal, like yes, that deal is done, but in the sense that the Jets don't have a two because of it, and they're probably going to be scrambling to get one, they're basically still paying for that deal because like
Right.
it's the knock on effect, right? So and I did an article earlier, and somebody's like, "What do you mean that trade is finished? What do you mean they're still paying?" Like there's a domino effect. I guess knock on
Hmm.
effect is what they'd say in England. There's a domino effect. Like you made that deal, but you gave up your two, and now the draft is coming. You're probably like, "Damn it, we need a two to get one of these linemen because of the two we gave up for Aaron. Now we got to make a deal to get a two back or a late one or whatever it may be." So yeah, I mean, I made the point the other day, Dylan. I said when people tell me the Jets should pass on Brock Bowers because they have Jeremy Ruckert. It sounds like someone saying you don't need Joe Alt because you have Carter Warren. Like that's the
Yeah.
parallel the point I was making, and we've discussed this, right? You don't pass on great players for good players. And that's the way I outlined it. And the number of people who were like, there's no way you can pass on Joe Alt. You have to take him if he's there. I'm like, that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is how silly it is to suggest passing on a potential franchise player because you have an okay guy in that spot already. And I kept telling, and I still, even though I tried to take out my crayons and spell it out for people, I was still seeing, you can't do it. This is so stupid. I can't believe you're suggesting they pass on Joe Walt. And I'm like, man, sometimes I can't. I got to remind myself sometimes that like 11-year-olds have Twitter accounts, and
Yeah.
you don't know who's replying to your stuff, and sometimes I forget that.
Yeah, we have a chat in here. It says, does JPJ go to Miami at 21 or Dallas at 24? But trading Reed to Detroit isn't crazy. No, okay. So we'll go backwards. The second part of the comment isn't crazy, but what are you getting from DJ Reed that allows you to address a different need and then go find DJ Reed's replacement?
Yeah,
Like, I don't think even if you got a second, which you're not, you get a
no,
third round pick for DJ
I think a
Reed.
three is best case scenario.
Yeah, best case scenario. You get a three for DJ Reed. Who are you getting in the third round that's going to be DJ Reed? I don't think there's a guy. And if you find the guy, like it's super lucky. I don't know. I feel like trading away pieces at this point is not the preferred strategy for me. I think like going back to the trade down situation, a team like New Orleans at 14, say they
Hmm.
want to trade up for the guy on the background of this show, Bo Nix. Yeah, you could recoup your picks because it's a quarterback trade, but you have a team like Chicago at 9, and that's their second pick of the top 10. What's to say Chicago's not going to let a team go do that, and jump the Jets for an offensive tackle even? I mean, obviously, if somebody jumps the Jets to take a quarterback, I'm happy, but
Yes.
Chicago at 9 is the spot that makes me the most nervous because year after year, months before the draft, Joe Douglas's affinity for X player comes out, and now everybody knows who's on our draft board. Everybody
But we
knows
don't,
that we're going to be.
half that stuff is made up. It's put out
Oh,
there
of
because they
course,
want teams to think that you like guys. It's it's
but
it,
still, I
it's
mean,
sort of
it's
hit and miss with that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Charles
Give me
says
give me
deep
one
tack.
second. I gotta just reset this real quick. Something
Sure,
just came up on my computer.
I'll just I'll read. I'll go through Charles's comment while Dylan's doing what he's doing. Yes, it's a deep tackle class. I like the Jets trade back to 21. I like Guyton from Oklahoma. He's looked good this week. I talked about him as a guy that I really wanted to see because of the opportunity to watch him have to sustain his blocks, and he did a really nice job. Jets have the choice of OTs. I see him trading back for extra capital. In other
I
words,
don't think
Aaron
they have their
Rodgers.
choice, but
No, they won't have their choice, but they will have multiple choices. I think.
they
So
could take
yeah,
OT too. There's the potential. I definitely think there's a situation where Joe Alt is the only offensive tackle taken off the board at that point. Let's just play a hypothetical. Say Joe Alt goes to the Chargers at 5, and you have your pick, Fashanu and Fuanga. Who are you taking at 10?
I can't say because I haven't watched a lot of Fashanu this year because I watched so much of him last year and thought he was so dominant. that I haven't watched him since hearing Daniel Jeremiah say he didn't look the same this year. Teams are down on him, and he spent a lot of time
Hmm.
on the ground. So I don't know if he took a step back or if I just overrated him based on what I saw last year. But I haven't seen enough to say, which of those two I would take.
Yeah, I see. I lean Fashanu in that sense for multiple reasons. I think obviously one is more pass protection based, which is Fashanu, and then you have Fuanga, who's more run blocking. Um, but if you're going to give me Aaron Rodgers healthy, give me the pass protecting guy. That's just my thing, and I also think Fashanu can play left and right side, whereas Fuanga, I'm leaning he's more just a right tackle, probably isn't going to flip over to the left side.
Yeah,
So it,
yeah,
it makes it tough for me, but I would have to say Fashanu, who DJ had its OT3 in his last mock, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. But he had him falling past the Jets. Um, Biff Sweeney, good friend Biff over in Ireland, says there are at least three guys he likes, and there are going to be. Listen, there's depending on what you prefer in your linemen, guys might have different lists and different opinions, but that guy is just it's there are several guys you can like Patrick Paul. I honestly had no idea how big that dude was. Um till I got here in Mobile, and he's enormous, and he's
Yeah, he
been
wasn't on my
dominant.
radar at all from
Yeah,
Houston.
he
Yep.
he's he's been dominant. I mean, for me, he was, but I just didn't know how big he was. He's been
Yeah.
absolutely
Did you see
ridiculous.
his hands in the final period? I know they were throwing up passes to the offensive lineman. Patrick
hmm
Paul showed some soft
I
hands,
didn't
man. I
see
was like,
him. Oh
stock
yes, he
up.
was the first one, and
Stock
they
up on
went
tight
nuts.
end 3.
He did the ball spin after he caught it.
Yep.
Like the receivers do when they went nuts when he did that because he did it really well. Wild
Mhm.
Wave says he thinks the Raiders and Broncos are going to trade up for a center. It's possible.
I
Now.
heard
How high do you
Ben
go for a
Albright.
center?
Ben Albright's a big Denver guy, and he said that the people that he's talked to within the building have shut down a lot of the trade rumors about Denver trying to move up. Not necessarily saying they still won't, but I think it would have to be a specific situation, and I don't think it would be for cornerback. If we know anything about Sean Payton, he wants a quarterback of his choosing that he can groom. So I would think that they would do that for a quarterback, but I don't know. It seems like rumors are getting
Yeah.
debunked about teams wanting to trade up this week. Let's see, we got another one here. Trading back
Yeah,
in a
and
must-year win is
Bobby
crazy,
says
or in a must-win year is crazy. Yep. Yeah, I've said this. I want a guy who's going to be on the field with Rodgers rather than be on the sidelines learning from him or not on the same side of the ball as him. So yeah, give me a plug and play guy, and 10 is probably the perfect range in this class to get a guy because I mean, say you strike out at wide receiver in free agency, you could still get a wide receiver at 10. Obviously, the optimal pick would be offensive lineman, but you're looking to get a guy who's going to start week 1 with whatever position you take at 10.
but
And that
that's
needs to be the
but part
mentality
of that
with
is
all these picks.
but part of that the reason why it's not crazy to trade back is because of the depth. If you're the Jets and you're looking for a tackle and you feel like there are 6 or 7 guys that will be there at 13, 14, 15, and that's what you move down to, you can still get your plug and play guy and add picks. So
Mhm.
for me, I think it would be crazy not to trade down because this is your win now mode. This is you've got a year or two with Aaron Rodgers. Don't sit back and wait for stuff to come to you. You got to make stuff happen. So I think they need to be adding as much talent as possible. If they can add a starting tackle at 14 or 15 and then add picks in the draft, I see absolutely no problem with that. Um,
Yeah.
Alon's asking, did the Chargers go Bowers, Alt, or Neighbors at 5? Again, I saw the Mel Kiper mock that had them going with Bowers at 5. That's what I would do and pair him with you've got a young franchise quarterback there. You've got a lot of pieces on offense. Bowers could be the guy that kind of gets that offense over the top. Biff wants to know how Pratt's looked. None of the quarterbacks have looked great. He's had his moments. He connected on a couple of
Mhm.
deep balls, but really, and someone said earlier that the what the coaches have told the players, right? Just or the coaches have told the
Yeah, Joe
quarterbacks.
Milton said that the coaches
Yeah,
were not telling him to throw deep,
yeah.
which
Joe
that's his
Milton
calling
said
card. Sorry.
right. Well, and that's
Yeah,
the thing. You would think all these guys want to air it out a little bit to show what they can
for
do,
sure.
but the coaches have apparently told the quarterbacks, keep it short, keep it quick, keep basically stay safe. Don't make any
Yeah.
mistakes, get yourself hurt by holding the ball too long. And
Pratt did have a nice
our
throw to Jamari Thrash in the end zone period, though. It was a nice back shoulder. Jamari went up over the receiver or the defender a little bit. So yeah, Michael Pratt had a couple of nice throws, but all in all, nobody really stood out enough
Yeah,
this week.
yeah. Um,
While Wave asked about the wide receivers, so wide receivers
okay.
are out of the question at 10. Neighbors are a Dunze because free agency is looking grim in that position. I don't see anyone shaking free. No, I don't think any of the names that we've discussed, the Mike Evans, the T. Higgins, the Michael Pittmans of the world, I don't think. And if one of them does shake free, you're probably competing with 18 teams to bring that guy in. I look at a guy that hasn't really been talked about enough, but we don't know how they're going to necessarily afford to keep him is Keenan Allen. Like if LA can't retain Keenan Allen, that's a guy. But I think of him as like the Chargers version of Mike Evans. He's been there for so long. He's done so much for that team. He's a franchise guy. Like they're going to try everything they can to retain him if they have the financial ability to do it. But no, I don't think wide receiver should be out of the question. Um, I'm not saying I hate Adunze. I haven't done enough to solidify my position on him, but Malik Neighbors, yeah, absolutely at 10. I would love a Malik Neighbors. I don't think he'll be there, but that would be almost like a home run for me if they got Malik Neighbors at 10.
Yeah, for me, it's Bowers or tackle or trade down. I feel like yeah, the thing that makes Bowers intriguing is he does improve your offensive line while giving you another pass catcher as an inline blocker. So you're helping the line and the receiving core. I couldn't see taking a receiver and then having to risk not getting a tackle, depending on whether or
Hmm.
not you're able to add a second, which they will. I mean, they have to. It's a matter of what they get in exchange for, I mean, Bryce Huff is their best trade chip, unless you want to talk about DJ Reed. But as you said, they're not going to get another corner of that caliber. So, and at his price, like DJ Reed is such a bargain. He might be the biggest
Hmm.
bargain on the roster. So I don't see them giving him
Seriously.
up. Yeah.
No, if anything, I would extend him and make his contract number more workable for the team. I know it's already a nice number, but you
Right.
can extend him, cut the cost for this year, and then use some of those savings to go attack another position. I do want to get to this one here because I think this
Yeah,
is a good
that would make
question.
more sense.
Biff asks, who has been your top three surprise players that caught your eye? I'll go first so I can give you a couple extra seconds to prepare for it. But Patrick Paul, offensive tackle from Houston.
Sure.
Um, Kamani Vidal, the running back from Troy, I had no idea who he was coming into this week. And then wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State, Ryan Flournoy. This guy, he just came in and worked all week and just showed that he belonged. I know it's a small school, Southeast Missouri State, but they do such a good job of finding these obscure guys for the Senior Bowl from these small schools. Last year, they had guys from Wichita Baptist, and now you have guys from Southeast Missouri State coming in and making plays. But Flournoy did not make a single body catch in the one-on-one period that I saw. Everything was hands extended away from the body, then bringing it in and securing the catch. Like, I don't know, he just did everything, all the little nuances of playing receiver the right way. So for being such a small school guy, it was really, really cool to see him. So yeah, Patrick Paul, Kamani Vidal, and Ryan Flournoy would be my three surprise guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Flournoy's got to be on everybody's list. I
Hmm.
was completely unfamiliar with him until a few days before we came down. He was listed as an accepted invite, and I was like, I don't even have time to watch this guy because I'm literally getting on a plane in a couple days, so I'll just have to see what I'd see in person. He's really jumped out, in especially yesterday. I think he had a really good day. Um, I had him jotted down in my notes a couple times. Christian Haynes, again, I got the guy I mentioned to start sort of the top here. He's a
Hmm.
guy I had watched coming into this, but finding footage of him against top tier competition was difficult to do. So it was, a matter of finding out whether or not he could hang at this level. He showed he definitely can. And then my guy Luke McCaffrey, another dude
Hmm.
who a few weeks ago I saw his accepted invite. I'm not gonna lie to you. The last time I saw him play, he was playing quarterback. I didn't even know he had moved to receiver and transferred to Rice. But when you see that, you think a McCaffrey at wide receiver. Like for those of us who watched his dad Ed, we know what he was able to do. And I thought the kid's an athlete. He just wasn't a good quarterback. So let's see what he's got. I found a couple of Rice games, and he looked, for a guy who'd only been playing the position a couple of years. I thought to myself, okay, I can see where Jim Nagy's coming from with being really bullish on this kid. And he had a fantastic week. He showed excellent hands. He showed the toughness that we've seen, or that shows up on film. And we saw the downfield blocking, the hard nosed playing style. And yeah, so McCaffrey, to me, I look at him and you wonder, like, how high did he just climb by doing what he did against these corners? But I would love for the Jets to have him there. Um,
Yeah,
a couple
just
more,
another
and then
guy
we'll
who does
roll
all the
out.
little things right. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Someone asked about Salah being on the hot seat. I mean, he should be, but I think they're just going to stick with him for
Everybody
this
is.
year. I think he's gone after this season.
Yeah.
Um,
I
let's
like this
see.
wide receiver question. Which wide receiver could the Jets find in round 4 that could be wide receiver 3 caliber? Um, I'm not sure exactly if they're all going to be necessarily round 4 guys, but there's plenty of guys that were here that I think could fit that mold. Let me see. I had a guy right on the tip of my tongue. I know Malachi Corley is probably not going to be there in the 4th round. He's probably a 3rd round guy, maybe even a 2nd round guy, depending. But it's really tough with wide receivers. Round 4, I mean, Ricky Pearsall. I feel like he could fall out of, not saying he's a bad player, but I feel like he's somebody
Actually, we
that
didn't
isn't.
mention him and Roman Wilson with the best players of the week, which obviously we should have.
Oh
They weren't
yeah.
there today, but they were two of
Mhm.
the best players here. Roman Wilson might have been the best offensive player here.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. Which is kind of crazy because all of the buzz around Fuanga and then Roman Wilson comes in and kind of steals the show there. But yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of guys here. Javon Baker from UCF, he's another guy. He had a really nice high point catch that got the oohs and ahs from the crowd. So it might not necessarily be a round 4 type of, I guess, Senior Bowl for some of these guys. They're probably going to mostly be top 100 picks. Um, but yeah, I mean, Javon Baker. I don't know. Maybe Brendan Rice doesn't catch the eye of everybody, but it's just so tough because like it only takes one. That's the cliche around the draft. Somebody could go 35 that people have ranked in the 70s or 80s, and vice versa. Somebody could go in the 70s or 80s that they had ranked in the 30s. Um, but Jamari Thrash definitely could be an early day 3 guy that I could see. I kind of cooled off on Johnny Wilson. Not saying he's a day 3 guy. He's definitely a day 2 guy at worst. But yeah, a lot of guys moved up and down the board. I know you had thoughts about Jaquan Jackson. He could probably fit that round 4 mold from
Yeah.
Tulane. So there's definitely a handful of guys that are going to fall out of the 3rd round, I guess it would be at the end of the day too. So definitely plenty of guys that, and all of these guys are going to be wide receiver 3. Let's be honest, like they're probably going to be wide receiver 2 because Alan Lazard is not your wide receiver 2. He should be at best your wide receiver 3. So if they go the draft route only with wide receiver, you would hope that they attack the position before round 4, but there's definitely going to be plenty of talent that slides out of the top 100 from the receiver position.
Yep. Um, Charles says he likes Guyton, Sweat, and Walker. I'm a big Tavondre Sweat guy. Him and McKinley Jackson, my two favorite tackles in this class. Um, Again, Tez Walker, not a great week here, but I don't think that's going to affect his draft stock. He'll still be a very highly touted guy, a guy who goes early on. And the last one we'll have. Well, you already commented on Rice, didn't you,
Yeah,
Dylan?
I've highlighted him every single
Yeah,
every
yeah,
single
he's been
day.
highlighted a couple different
He's
times.
been
Biff,
balling.
yeah, he's been
And
doing
he's
a
not
really
even the
nice
type of
job.
wide receiver that I love. Like I covet the quickness, the
Yeah,
sharpness in and out of breaks, the separation, the quickness, and he's been more of the physicality wide receiver. Not saying he's a big body wide receiver that doesn't separate,
right.
but yeah, he is going against the grain of the types of wide receivers that I do like.
All right. Well, that'll wrap this one up, folks. Day 3 of the Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl practices have wrapped up. We're going to wrap this up game in a couple days. May go live between now and then to talk about some other things, but that'll do it for now. Thanks for checking us out. Be sure to log in to jetnation.com, most active Jets message board on the web. Check out the forums.